Hello everyone and welcome to the December edition of the VolunteerMatch Solutions Best Practice Network webinar series. I'm Casey Brennan from VolunteerMatch and I'll be moderating our session today. We're thrilled to be joined today by Megan Strand, who comes to us from the Cause Marketing Forum. Megan recently undertook a huge research project, the first ever exploring cause marketing on Facebook, and drafted up a white paper which she's going to be sharing the findings with us today. She was able to interview about 25 organizations and people who had done cause marketing on Facebook to pull out some of the truth, tips, and trends from those pioneers. And she also analyzed more than 100 campaigns as part of this process. So before we get started, I just wanted to remind everyone how they can ask questions during the session today. You can use the question box on the right-hand side of your screen. I will get all those and ask those at the end of the session to Megan. We'll leave about 15 minutes for question and answers. You can also submit questions via Twitter by sending them to @VM_solutions and using the hashtag BPN Facebook. And again, those will all come into us and we'll be happy to post those at the end of the session. We will also be recording this session today, and you will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording and to the slides. So without further delay, I'm going to hand the controls over to Megan. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you so much, Casey. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with your group today. As I was saying to you earlier, having spent so much time on this report and then producing this great white paper, it's nice to have the opportunity to actually talk through some of the things that I learned through the process. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I wanted to give your audience a brief background on the Cause Marketing Forum in case anybody's not familiar with our organization. What we do is really try to help businesses and nonprofit organizations by doing all sorts of things like providing information, education, connections, and recognition. We are a member organization, but we do serve the larger cause marketing community by providing ongoing content and resources. This year we're actually going to be holding our 10th annual conference in Chicago, which we're very excited about, and we will be hosting what we call the Cause Marketing Halo Awards, where we recognize excellence in cause marketing on an annual basis. Just a couple of really great resources that we offer that are free that I wanted to point out. The first being our website at causemarketingforum.com. Lots of great news, trends, resources, statistics. And then we've also launched a new service called the Cause Update Service. And what that is a free subscription service you can get into your email, and we push out new campaigns and just brief snapshots of what our first impressions of these campaigns are. So we do encourage you to take a look at that. Casey did a great job overviewing what I did in particular to produce this white paper. What happened with the Cause Marketing Forum, we consider it our responsibility to keep apprised of trends and high-level happenings related to cause marketing. So when we started noticing a surge of Facebook campaigns related to cause marketing, we looked around and realized that nobody was really taking an in-depth look at this industry and this platform, so we decided to dive in. So I was fortunate enough to be able to interview over 25 folks who do this on a daily basis, and I reviewed over 100 Facebook campaigns, as Casey did already point out to you. So what we're going to be talking about today, first of all, is why cause works on Facebook. The next thing we'll talk about are just the different types of campaigns that exist in this environment, and then what to expect when you're undertaking these campaigns, whether you've already done these campaigns or you're continuing to take your campaigns to the next level. And then finally, just some success strategies that I was able to learn from all these great folks, both for developing reach and expanding your reach and creating deeper engagement, which is always important with Facebook. I wanted to just get just a quick impression from you guys about the status of your organization's Facebook page. So I'm going to ask Casey to launch our first poll here. And the question to you is, what is the status of your organization's Facebook page currently? Maybe you don't have one. Maybe you've set up a page, but you rarely, if ever, post on it. Maybe you do have a page and you post regularly, but it's not as strategic as you're hoping it might be. Or maybe you have a very active, very engaged, and very strategic Facebook community. So if you could take just a moment and answer that question for us, that would be fantastic.
All right, and we're going to give about another 10 seconds to everybody to cast their vote, and then we will show everyone the results on the page. All right, and we're about to close up. All right, Megan, so you should see the results of everyone on your screen now.
Can you actually go through those results for me, Casey? For some reason I'm not seeing them. Can you just give me the hit?
Sure. It looks like about 12% of the people on the call don't currently have a Facebook page. 7% have a page but rarely, if ever, post on it. 40% say they have a page and post regularly, but it's not necessarily strategic. And then 41% say that they have a very active Facebook community.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you guys are already doing great work on Facebook. So I want to commend you for being on that platform and being there. And if you're not quite there yet, that's okay too. But it sounds like most of you have started to dabble into this platform. So that's fantastic. So let's talk just a minute about why Facebook is so important. Most of you, it sounds like you already know this because you're already there. But just from our perspective, for some of you that maybe aren't there or are hesitant in your campaigns that you're already putting forth, why is Facebook so important? Why do we even have to pay attention to this platform? As you probably know, Facebook is the 800-pound gorilla of social media. With 800 million users and being the second most traveled site globally, this really is a place that people are choosing to spend their time online. So if you're marketing to consumers at all, obviously this is something we need to be paying attention to. Something that I did not know that I thought was interesting is that global ad revenues on Facebook are expected to reach $3.8 billion this year. So what that means for you as a cause marketer is that not only is cause marketing just relegated to marketing line item budgets, there's some new sources of funding opening up in social media budgets and also in digital advertising budgets, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So why cause works on Facebook? Why is this such a palatable medium for cause? Clearly, social media is most compelling when human-to-human contact exists in a very authentic way. And causes really are about people helping people. It's inherently social. They do go together just very naturally. Why? Another reason that cause does work on Facebook is that really people want to see their friends doing something good for the world. People like sharing when they're doing something well, and Facebook is all about sharing. It's really a perfect medium for doing that. People are expecting to be engaged in this manner on Facebook. The campaign on your screen that you're seeing right now is a really fun campaign from Virgin Regeneration called Do Whatever It Takes. It's a campaign to fight youth homelessness, and it's targeted toward millennials. Now, this campaign does not live on Facebook per se, but so much of it is about sharing and using Facebook that I thought it was a prime example. So what happens is individual users can upload kind of a wacky thing they're willing to do in exchange for a donation to benefit this cause of ending youth homelessness. And they list a donation amount. When that donation is reached, they have to execute their commitment. So what you're seeing on the screen right now was a guy who said he'd shave his hair into a mullet for 3 days. So cause is a great way to share on Facebook, but if you're able to add some humor and entertainment, it's all the better. Another reason that causes work so well on this platform is that causes have more meaning when they're shared from a friend or an acquaintance. I had a conversation with Charles Porch, who is in the consumer marketing division at Facebook, and he said even more so than a celebrity, people are willing to act and pay attention when somebody they know is sharing a cause. So again, it's just that platform where you're expecting people to share things that are important to them. From a corporate perspective, what I heard often was that, Facebook is a great way, and incorporating cause into your Facebook platform is a great reason to talk about something that is otherwise unsexy. So here's a great example that just came out last week. Express Personnel Services just hit an internal milestone of 3 million hours worked in 1 week by Express employees. Well, so what? Who cares about that? Well, Express does, and what they did was wrap a cause campaign on Facebook around this internal milestone. They said they were going to donate $10,000 to a nonprofit, and they opened up a voting campaign on Facebook to celebrate this internal milestone. So maybe this is not a campaign that's going to be overwhelmingly exciting, but it does give Express a reason to talk about an internal milestone. So I'm going to ask Casey to do another poll for us. This is your personal perceptions on your usage of Facebook. So I want to know on Facebook, have you, A, noticed when other people's post about cause-related issues? Have you clicked a link or liked a page in support of a cause? Have you never seen anyone post anything pertaining to a cause? Or do you have no idea what I'm talking about because you don't have a personal Facebook page? So if you could just take a moment and answer that poll, that would be fantastic. And I think I can see it this time, Casey, hopefully.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like votes are coming in. I'm going to give everyone about another 10 seconds to get their votes in. This is also a task that tests whether or not you're paying attention today. So please participate if you're on the line. All right, in just a few more seconds, and then I'll close it and show everyone the results. And Megan, you should see the results on your screen now. Are you able to see that?
Yeah, I see it. It looks like most people are resonating with exactly what I'm saying, that they have done something in support of a cause. So you have that personal experience, and I'm pleased to see that only 5% of you don't have a personal Facebook page, because if you're going to be dealing in this medium, one of the first pieces of advice that people give is that you really should have your own page and engage from a personal perspective so that you can figure out what things really do work in that medium. So thanks for doing that. That's fantastic. So I wanted to talk a little bit next about types of Facebook campaigns. These types of campaigns we quite frankly just made up because it didn't exist as far as the cause marketing campaigns on Facebook. So the first type of campaign is a very simple one. You've probably seen it all over the place. It's essentially just a like for donation campaign where a company says, hey, come like our page and we'll make a donation to a nonprofit of our choosing. Some of the pros of these campaigns is that they're very simple to implement. They're very familiar and straightforward. People know what to do with these campaigns. And quite frankly, from the nonprofit perspective, many nonprofits are really cool with doing these sorts of campaigns because from their perspective, they don't have to do a lot. They typically will get some sort of minimum donation, and so they feel pretty good about that for the most part. Is it the most exciting campaign in the world? No, it's sure not. So some of the cons, they're a dime a dozen. We see these all the time. And they tend to be a little bit unoriginal just because they're so simple and so basic. Another component to consider when you're looking at these like campaigns is that there's been a movement recently on Facebook that you may be aware of. People are really resisting liking something because it essentially implies endorsement. So, you know, maybe I have no idea what this brand is about. I don't want to like their page because I don't want people to think that I'm endorsing them just because I'm liking their page to participate in their campaign. So there have been some changes to Facebook recently as far as the like button is concerned. So far, the brand pages continue to have a like page, but speculation is that may be changing. So just keep an eye on that if you're considering a campaign like this. The next type of campaign is just called a simple action for donation. Companies are asking users to upload a photo, post a comment, upload a video, something like that in exchange for a donation to a nonprofit organization. As a caveat to something like this, if you're going to offer any sort of contest, as this example on your screen is showing, plus win a free dental plan, those do actually have to live on a third-party application, and we'll talk about that for a minute. But this is just a simple action for donation campaign. Some of the pros of these campaigns, they're very easy to implement. They do tend to be a little bit more shareable. If you're uploading a photo of your kid, why not share that with some other folks? These types of campaigns are more likely to appear in a news feed item. So versus just liking a page, which doesn't have a high likelihood of appearing in a news feed item, if you're sharing a photo, if you're uploading a video, that piece of content is going to be shared with your network. I'm sorry, it's more likely to be shared with your network than if than just a simple like campaign. And there is some potential for originality here, depending on what the brand is and what the cause is. You have some room for creativity. Some of the cons, they tend to be limited implementations, especially if you're just using Facebook's existing technology and you're not using a third-party app. And then the con, again, going back to the contest, if you do run a contest, it does have to be hosted on a third-party application per Facebook's terms of use. So if maybe you do want to do a really simple campaign, but it turns out you have to use a third-party application if you want to do a contest in association with that. The next type of campaign is an interactive action for donation. The first thing we're going to talk about under this type of campaign is a custom application. So on your screen you see an example right here with Town Place Suites and the American Red Cross. They're asking consumers to engage with their application to make a bed, and once they do this little online process, the Town Place Suites will donate $2 to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. So there's plenty of examples of this. This is a type of campaign or a type of application that may increase user interest and engagement and potentially sharing by making the activity just a little bit more interesting. Another type of campaign that's an interactive action for donation is a fundraising campaign. So apps can also function as fundraising platforms, as is the case with Causes, which is the longest running fundraising application on Facebook. There are other fundraising applications, but Causes is the most familiar and it's been there the longest. These enable cause marketers to drive user donations or actions and also implement matching donation campaigns. So for example, what you're seeing on your screen right now is Aflac's fall 2011 Friends of a Feather campaign. So they encourage users to donate $10 to childhood cancer research. So users could donate $10 and receive this cute little stuffed duck, or they could donate any amount and forego the duck, and Aflac would donate $20. Aflac pledged to donate up to $2 million via these activities. The next type of campaign under the interactive action for donation is a branded activity. So users can earn donation dollars for a cause by participating in marketing activities like watching a video or taking a survey. We often see these on Facebook causes or within gaming platforms. Social Vibe is an organization that runs these opt-in campaigns where people are already actively engaged. They tend to think of these as turnkey cause marketing programs. So brands don't need to create an entire cause marketing campaign from the ground up. They can just use these campaigns. The next type of campaign is what Mark Zuckerberg has termed the most successful applications on Facebook. And these are games. 53% of Facebook users play games, 69% of Facebook gamers are women, and 20% have paid cash for in-game benefits. There is a hugely profitable virtual goods market that runs alongside these social gaming platforms. So these apps are really fertile ground for cause marketing campaigns and something you might want to pay attention to. So the example on your screen is a campaign that was run by Zynga after the tsunami in Japan. The game developer partnered with the nonprofit Direct Relief, and they sold a virtual Japanese fan via their game Mafia Wars. 100% of the proceeds went to Direct Relief for earthquake and tsunami relief, and Facebook even donated their standard 30% cut of the virtual goods sale. The gamers raised $650,000 in 48 hours. So this is something as a cause marketer you might want to pay attention to. Zynga has repeated this model with other nonprofit organizations, and they've even recently incorporated a branding component with Pizza Hut through their Zynga games. The virtual good revenue on Facebook is predicted to grow 32% next year to reach $1.65 billion. So gaming for good is an area of continued opportunity for cause marketers. And if you stop to think about it, it really is an interesting way for consumer engagement from a cause perspective. You have people that are incredibly engaged in these gaming environments, and you're having them donate actual money toward a cause and potentially partnering with a company to do that as well. So something to pay attention to for sure. Another type of gaming app that does not live within an existing social gaming platform is this example that you're seeing on your screen right now. This was a Diet Coke February 2011 campaign around their Heart Truth initiative, and it was a Capture the Flag virtual game. So this was a cause marketing campaign that already existed, and they just wrapped a gaming component into it. It was a custom application. So consumers were invited to flip over cans of Diet Coke, these little virtual cans, to reveal hidden flags. And they were able to continue playing the game until they revealed 3 flags, which ultimately triggered donations. When the game was over, users were asked to share their participation in the game, and this game in particular generated over $177,000 in donations from Diet Coke. Different from the Zynga example you just saw, this is where a corporation or the brand is making the donation, not the consumer. The consumer is simply engaging with the application. So some of the pros of these interaction for donation campaigns, there's high potential for originality, as you've just seen. They're very, very customizable, and you're going to get a lot more receptivity from nonprofit organizations because they know that you're going to be paying a lot more attention to how the mission incorporates with the brand. They know you're going to be spending a lot more time and resource and money to make this thing a success. So different from a like campaign, there's a lot more engagement and interaction that typically happens between the nonprofit and the brand. Obviously, the cons are that they're more complex and costly to implement. And then there's some serious repercussions as far as privacy permissions from Facebook, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. The last type of campaign is something you've probably seen quite a bit, and that's a voting campaign. So companies are going to offer a large, typically large or cash or in-kind prize to a cause that garners the most votes, or some other online targeted action. So these campaigns have made a big splash in recent years because they typically involve large donation amounts, and they've also gathered quite a bit of media attention. This started in 2010 when the Pepsi Refresh campaign started raising eyeballs around the world when they announced they were going to forego their Super Bowl commercials and donate upwards of $20 million to local organizations and causes nominated by the public. And that campaign did originally live on Facebook. Some of these campaigns will have a crowdsourced component like the Pepsi Refresh campaign, where they're asking consumers to nominate a charity that would receive money. Sometimes the charities are pre-selected. Some of the pros of these campaigns is that, again, there's high potential for originality, and they're imminently shareable because people are voting for the cause that they want to win a prize. They are more likely to gather their friends around them to help them support that cause, so they're imminently shareable. Some of the cons is that, again, these are complex and costly to implement, and there's a real issue with nonprofit perception that's happening right now. These campaigns take so much as far as staff resources and tapping their existing consumers from a nonprofit perspective that many nonprofit organizations we've talked with have just really strayed away from doing these campaigns or are incredibly selective about the campaigns that they will take advantage of. Most of these campaigns now, the nonprofits will require a minimum donation to participate. So if you're offering a $100,000 cash prize, you can be prepared to offer $25,000 or $5,000 minimum to everyone who participates. So nonprofits have gotten a lot more savvy about these types of campaigns. So want to launch another poll, make sure everybody's still awake out there. So of the types of campaigns that were just presented, the type that I find most interesting for my organization, whether you've done this before or whether you'd like to continue doing these types of campaigns, are what? So the first one is like for donation. The next is simple action for donation, and then interactive action for donation, which includes branded activities, games, custom applications, and then voting campaigns. So if you just take a minute and do that, that would be fantastic.
All right, we're going to give about another 10 seconds for everyone to submit their votes to this question, and then I'll launch all of the responses for all of us to check out. All right, a couple more coming in, and then I'm going to close it. All right, Megan, you should be able to see the results now. It looks like the interactive action for donation is the one that's coming out as most interesting for the people on the line today.
I do see that, and yep, that makes a whole lot of sense, and we're seeing so many of those now. Although I I do notice that there's, a decent spread of interest for these other types of campaigns as well. And I think, again, these campaigns are really going to depend, the best fit is going to depend on the brand and the cause and that partnership and what's right for them. So, you can be real creative with some of these more basic types of campaigns. And as we'll find out, more complicated is not always better. So thank you for that poll, Casey.
Sure.
So let's move on to expectations and things you should be expecting when you're engaging in these sorts of cause campaigns. So the example I'd like to give was shared with me by Margaret Maury-Runer of Timberland. And they were one of the first brands that did a very robust cause marketing campaign on Facebook back in 2008. So what happened was some employees in Asia asked Timberland to plant trees in Asia because there was a real deforestation issue happening. So back in 2000, they did commit to plant 1 million trees in China. Fast forward to 2008, and Facebook started coming on the scene, and they said, hey, let's check out this new social media platform and see if we can engage consumers in these additional tree planting efforts. So what they did was launch, it was a custom application. You can see it here on the right. It looks very basic to us now, but this was like all the rage back in 2008. This was very advanced then. So what they did was they said, come to our application and plant a virtual tree. So for every virtual tree planted, we will plant 1 real tree in Mongolia. So when they went into this campaign, they thought, oh, we're going to be lucky to get 30,000 users and plant 30,000 trees. Well, what happened was within the first couple of weeks, they had 175,000 users, and they panicked because they, quite frankly, didn't have the nonprofit partners in enough volume to be able to handle that many actual trees planting. So they had to pause the campaign. Well, there's a great story behind it that appears in the white paper, but essentially what they ended up doing, they had to pause the campaign. People went crazy. They had to get their CEO on the line and have an actual conference call with their Facebook users to explain the situation. They ended up relaunching the campaign and hit their 1 million tree commitment, but there was a lot of controversy around it and a lot of drama, but this was, the response they got back in 2008. Fast forward to 2010, and Timberland wanted to do another rendition of this campaign, their virtual forest campaign. As you can see from the custom app that's showing on your screen right now, it was much more polished, much more robust. They had all sorts of components to it, but they thought, okay, we're not going to make the same mistake twice. We're not going to do a 1-to-1 planting ratio. We're going to do a different ratio. I don't know exactly what it was, but let's say it was 5 virtual trees to 1 actual tree planted. Well, 2 things happened. First of all, they didn't get nearly the amount of the interest that they had originally, and they were kind of left scratching their heads. The first campaign had gone so well. Secondly, the virtual forest diehards back from 2008 were mad. They wanted that 1-to-1 virtual tree to actual tree ratio back. So what they did, they changed it back to the 1-to-1 ratio because their users demanded it. But this just really goes to show how quickly things change on Facebook, and that's the next expectation. Expect things to change rapidly. What works 1 week on Facebook may not work the next week. There's also lots of changes that Facebook rolls out, quite frankly, on a weekly basis. Some of them are just feature additions. Some of them majorly and dramatically impact how your content is shared with your users. So it is important to expect things to change and to try to keep up with those changes as much as possible. The next expectation we want to have is expect to use this platform as an experimentation platform. Nobody expects to launch a campaign on Facebook and have it be the $1 million smash viral hit. Well, actually, a lot of people do expect that, and that's maybe not what you should be thinking about. So the counsel that I received from all of these experts was that really this is a test and learn platform. This is a place that you should take some time and figure out what's resonating with your community. What sorts of content do they like? What sorts of contests? What sorts of engagement do they like to have with your brand? So a great example of this, I think, is from Specialized Bicycles. This was shared with me by Simon Dunn, who's their Director of Advocacy. So after years and years of giving a little bit of money to a lot of different causes, Specialized decided to focus on one basic cause, which was getting kids on bikes. So their team knew that a comprehensive initiative was going to take a lot of time to roll out, but they were really eager to present this idea to their existing customers. So they created a really small campaign that ended up being very successful for them on Facebook, and it was called Likes for Bikes. So for every 1,000 fans they received, Specialized would donate a bicycle to cycle kids. So over 6 weeks of the campaign, they generated 10,000 fans, which is about 30% of their fan base, so for them that was great, and they gave away 39 bikes. But more importantly, they got some really great information from their community that this was something that their community could get behind, and they did like it, and they liked the focus on getting kids on bikes. So this was a great campaign for Specialized and a great example of using this campaign for experimentation purposes. I heard another great story from Aviva USA about experimentation. Thankfully, they went into this campaign as a test and learn campaign. This is what they said they wanted to do going into it. They actually launched their Facebook page with a cause marketing campaign. As you can see from the screen, it was actually a voting campaign. And what they did was they asked people to donate their status for one day to one of 4 nonprofit organizations. They had a lot of bells and whistles in this campaign, and there was a lot that was involved with allowing Aviva and Facebook to change their status on a particular day in support of these campaigns. So what happened was that they didn't realize that a lot of these bells and whistles they added into their custom voting campaign triggered a lot of privacy permission requests from Facebook. So when people went to donate their status request, they didn't only get 1 or 2 privacy permission requests from Facebook, they got like 5 or 6, and it really scared off a lot of folks. So at the end of the campaign, they ended up getting, I think, 15 or 16,000 new fans, but the engagement level with the app itself, people actually donating their status, was much, much lower. So, you know, thankfully they went into this thinking of it as an experiment, and they did learn a lot from this campaign. And that they'll carry forward with them in future campaigns. The next expectation that's really important to have, that I hear a lot from all of these experts that are working, particularly with brands, was that companies are really hesitant to relinquish control on social media platforms, particularly something like Facebook. People don't want to open it up to public comment. They're afraid that people are going to be posting nasty comments or criticisms that may be detrimental to the brand, and they're really hesitant to do that. So the counsel really is that if you're going to be on Facebook, you do have to open it up to a two-way conversation. This is particularly important when you're looking at doing a cause campaign, because authenticity is so important. So if you're a brand that just pushes content out to your page, you don't let anybody comment on the page, you don't have consumer engagement on the page, how receptive do you think that audience is going to be to a cause campaign? They're just going to think it's one more push message that you're trying to jam down their throats. So really expect to relinquish control. Of course, you're going to monitor and curate the content and moderate the conversation. However, you know, having that open environment is really important when you're considering partnering with a cause. The example you see on the screen is a great benefit of being able to have an open page. Every year, Campbell's Soup Company partners with the letter carriers and the Stamp Out Hunger campaign. They help promote this great food drive across the country. And they've been so pleased with what shows up on their Facebook campaign after this campaign, after the Stamp Out Hunger food drive campaign. They get all these great pictures and comments and posts from people around the country in teeny tiny locations or big cities or what have you, with pictures of all the food that was donated. Campbell's Soup Company could never have collected any of this data on their own. Maybe they could have gone out to 1 or 2 locations, but to get all these multiple pictures and postings is really a huge benefit, and that's something they enjoy. And just from a content perspective, it's great to see people engaging in that way. The next expectation from a cause marketing perspective is that you really do need to invest effort in working with your partners. The first point under this is that you need to choose your partners carefully. Even though campaigns are short-lived on Facebook, it's still important to do your due diligence. Carrie Lewis from the Humane Society shared a great story with us for the white paper regarding a voting contest that they got into that they did not do their due diligence. So they had entered into a voting contest with a company called Bet Online, and they hadn't done due diligence, and what happened was some of their consumers and their Facebook users did, and they figured out that Bet Online profited from greyhound racing. Well, clearly that is in direct opposition to the Humane Society's mission and focus. So they had to publicly go on their Facebook page. They did the right thing. They publicly went on their Facebook page and apologized profusely and pulled out of the contest. But again, choose your partners carefully. The next thing about investing effort in working with your partners is making sure that you're on the same page as far as common knowledge. So one partner may need a primer on social media vocabulary or expectations or metrics or even recent changes. So make sure you're investing effort in getting that other partner up to speed, whether it's your nonprofit partner or whether it's your brand partner. And don't assume that the brand always knows more, because they certainly don't. It's important to get them up to the same speed, on the same page. Nonprofits are going to be a little bit sensitive that they don't want to trigger unrelated business income tax, so they're going to be really careful about how they post things. You need to know that, and you need to have conversations about that. And again, we've talked about this a couple times, but Facebook terms of use, they have promotional guidelines, they have marketing guidelines. When you're running these contests in particular and these campaigns, there are stipulations in the terms of use that you do need to be aware of, and make sure your partner is aware of them as well. The next thing that's important to get on the same page with your partner is about establishing shared measurable objectives. We talk a lot about measurement when it comes to social media, but guess what? Every organization measures things a little bit differently. So just make sure as you're going into these campaigns you say, hey, here's for us what a successful campaign looks like on Facebook, and make sure you get that expectation from your partner organization as well. The next thing may sound really simple, but it is important to discuss and document your logistics of these campaigns. Where's the campaign home? Does it live on the brand page or the nonprofit page? What's the runtime of the campaign? What's the specific call to action you're asking people to do? What are minimum or maximum donation expectations from the nonprofit partner? These are really important things to talk about. How are we going to support this Facebook campaign on other channels? What are some of the parameters around content? What's the legal review process that needs to be in place? All these things need to be communicated between partners. And then just very basically, you probably know this, but it's something to just make sure everyone's on the same page with, using things like shared editorial calendars, making up sample messaging, doing weekly touch-base meetings. A lot of companies and brands we talk to really do a lot to equip their nonprofit partners with toolkits to help them promote the cause campaigns out to their community. So that's something to consider as well. I think we're ready for another poll, if Casey will work on that for us.
Sure.
Oops, hold on, I just messed something up here. Sorry, Casey.
Let me go ahead and launch the question for everybody. So again, the question is what expectation that Megan just shared did you not, oh wait, I'm sorry, I must have put off the question. So what expectation did you not already have as part of, your set of expectations about cause marketing on Facebook? Megan discussed the rapid speed of change that's happening, the use of experimentation, the need to kind of relinquish control when you're running a campaign on Facebook, and also the investing in the effort of working with partners when you're getting your campaign going on Facebook. So I'll give everyone a few more seconds here, about 10 more seconds to submit their votes. Again, what was one expectation that you did not already have? All right, looks like everyone has gotten their votes in, and I'm going to close the voting now. And here are the results, Megan.
Wow, it looks like this one's a little bit more evenly divided. It looks like the winner was experimentation. And then the next one would have been investing effort and working with partners, which had a couple of different components. So that's fantastic. I'm glad that you guys are picking up things from each individual part of the presentation of these expectations. And certainly most of these, when I went into researching this report, I did not have. And some of them seem like real basic common sense, but they're so easy to overlook as you get into the thick of some of these campaigns and implementing, and you get excited. And just sometimes going back to the common sense things really do make a big difference. So thank you for that, Casey. We're going to move on to talking about just success strategies, some things that people shared with me that were really important to make these campaigns successful. And again, some of these are obvious, but some of them are not. The first one is supporting your Facebook channel, Facebook strategy with multiple channels. The first thing that's really a great thing to use are Facebook ads. We found so many people that had great success with Facebook ads because they do really let you target in a different way. You can target by age and interest versus just a keyword, for example.
And Megan, it looks like we have a different view of your desktop right now, so maybe you can launch that in full preview mode so everyone can see. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry about that. The second one would be, as far as multiple channel go, making sure that you're supporting these campaigns on your corporate websites and your microsites. The Specialized Bike example that I gave you earlier, this is their microsite for First Gear, which is their campaign targeting getting kids onto bikes. So certainly they have a Facebook link directly on their page, and if they have any direct campaigns, they do push them out through these microsites as well. You'd be shocked at how many people run Facebook campaigns, Facebook cause campaigns, and there's zero mention of them on their website. I look at these campaigns every day. I continue to do that. So many of them are missing just from the basic website. So that's another place you want to make sure that you are. Things like print media. This is a campaign from Maytag in support of the Boys and Girls Club that was shown in a Redbook magazine using print media. And then other social media channels. And these can be a little bit more cost efficient, if you will, using things like Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There's a great example from Reading is Fundamental. They entered into a Macy's Thank a Mom Mother's Day Facebook voting contest. And each nonprofit organization had to obviously try to activate their community to get the most votes. So what Reading is Fundamental did was they hosted a Twitter party with a mom blogger. They gave out Macy's cards as incentives to participate, and they reached an entirely new audience. They were able to have this Twitter conversation with this great group of women, and then they said, hey, please help support us and vote for us in this campaign. So they were really pleased with the results of that, and that I just thought was a really creative strategy. So when we're talking about success strategies and getting people to engage on a deeper level and getting people to engage in the first place, one of the things that is most important, which again seems a little bit counterintuitive, is keeping these campaigns very simple. Simple actions are even more critical when you're adding the additional variable of a cause marketing partner or a cause into your campaign. This is a great example. We saw this a little bit earlier in the presentation, but it was a simple action for a donation campaign from dentalplans.com. They asked people to upload a kid of their a picture of their favorite child smiling onto their Facebook page in exchange for a donation to Operation Smile. It was a great little campaign. They got lots and lots of people uploading pictures and sharing pictures and all these great things. So when they decided to do another campaign, they decided to ask people to upload a video. And they were mortified that they only got 22 people to upload a video. And they were scratching their heads like, the photo thing worked so well, why didn't the video thing work? Well, it turned out that everyone has a picture of a cute smiling kid on their computer that takes 2 seconds to upload. Not everyone has the technological savvy or the time to make a video and upload it to a page for a donation. So keeping it simple is very, very important. We hear this over and over again from all sorts of folks. You've seen lots of different campaigns today. The Aviva campaign is a great example of keeping a campaign simple. When you're having multiple privacy permission requests triggered, it's really important to just try to eliminate that as much as possible and keep it simple. Another thing to keep in mind is just trying to be as creative as possible on this platform, really trying to wrap in the nonprofit mission as well as your brand message. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is a campaign from the March of Dimes and Johnson & Johnson. It was a like for donation campaign, but they upped the ante a little bit, and they asked their users to make a promise to treasure the everyday moments they experience with kids in their life. So not only were they saying, hey, like the Johnson & Johnson page, they were saying, hey, this is really what Johnson & Johnson and March of Dimes is about spending valuable quality time with kids in your life. So be a little bit creative, even if you're just doing a more basic campaign. Also, making use of incentives and premiums, just because it's a cause campaign doesn't mean people don't want to get something in return. So most people we consulted advise offering an incentive wherever possible, sometimes even 2 incentives. Premiums are also a great way of obtaining a mailing address from folks. The campaign you're seeing on your screen right now is from Bear Aspirin in support of Women's Heart. They offered just a little keychain aspirin holder and got an amazing response from people and got a huge mailing list of people that they were able to share with Women's Heart. So that was a huge benefit and a great way and a great use of premiums. This one is really important. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, make sure when you're partnering with a cause on Facebook that you do a really great job of showing impact. So it's not enough to say that your actions will trigger a donation to help a hungry child. Which hungry child? Where? How is this donation going to help them specifically? So this typically comes down to providing compelling stories. Timberland does a great job with this on their Virtual Trees campaign. Not only do they tell you about where these trees are going to be planted, they have videos of farmers and all sorts of great stories that people are more likely to A, read, and B, share. So please keep in mind that showing impact is super, super important. I think we're rounding into our last polling question here. Of the engagement strategies that were just talked about, I find this type most interesting for my campaigns. So supporting your campaigns with multiple channels, keeping your campaigns really simple, using and incorporating creativity and creative actions into your campaign, using incentives and premiums, or showing impact.
We're going to give everyone a little bit of time to get their votes in here. This can be a tough one because it's about, you know, what would work best, what's the best piece of advice that you're taking away from Megan today is really about, you know, is it about kind of using multiple channels, is it about keeping it simple, making sure that your campaign is creative, offering some type of incentive after the fact, or about tracking impact. I'm going to give everyone about 5 more seconds and then I'm going to close the poll and we can all take a look at the results together. Here we go.
So it looks like creative actions and showing impact are the top, although it looks like, you know, everyone's taking away a couple of different things from each of these categories. So that's fantastic. It sounds like across the board there's stuff to be shared. I know we're running a little bit short on time, Casey, so I had a case example, but I'm happy to launch into questions if you're getting a lot of them. It's up to you.
We do have a few, but I know you only have a couple more slides, so why don't we go ahead and go through those. And then we'll have a few minutes for questions as well.
That sounds great. So I just wanted to share one example of a cause campaign that I've seen recently that I just saw and thought, wow, they did a great job with this cause campaign. So the campaign I'd like to share is from Kohl's, and it's called Love to Give, Happy to Save. And this is going on currently, so you can go to their Facebook page and see it. And it's a holiday, obviously a holiday cause marketing promotion. So what they're doing is asking for their users to contribute stories and photos of who or what inspires them to give. So in order to enter this contest, they have to first upload a photo and a description of who or what inspires them to give. And then over the course of this 2-month campaign, on a weekly basis, they're going to be giving out $100 gift cards to Kohl's. And the winners, in addition to getting a $100 gift card, they also get $500 to direct to one of 2 charities that Kohl's is sponsoring through this campaign. They also get a chance to win an additional $2,500 Kohl's gift card at the end and the opportunity to allocate $25,000 to either of the charities, which are Feeding America and Toys for Tots. So this just generates a ton of engagement on the Kohl's Facebook page. There's weekly winners, so it keeps people coming back to their Facebook page, which also is important. And they're guaranteeing $75,000 minimum to each of the charities. They're only including 2 charities, which I think is a nice little bit of a twist. And I just thought all around this is a fantastic campaign. So I was curious, and I went to see how their stats were doing through a website called allfacebook.com. And it seemed to me like they were doing pretty well. I have no idea what Kohl's measures, but when I pulled their fan likes, fans over time, this is what all Facebook was showing. So at the beginning of the campaign, you can see before the campaign started, at the end of October, it was, you know, their population was growing a little bit, and as soon as the campaign launched on this first little bullet here on November 1st, it just kind of went through the roof. And this was actually a couple of weeks ago. When I pulled it again the other day, they were over 6.2 million fans, which is amazing. So even though this is a huge brand page with a huge engaged community, they're still increasing their fans quite a bit. So this was a campaign that I just thought really nailed it, hit it out of the park as far as cause marketing and engagement and incentives and all that wonderful, wonderful information. So kudos to Kohl's for that campaign. And I think we're on to Q&A. If you have some questions, Casey, I'm happy to take them.
Awesome, Megan. Thank you so much. This has given us all a lot to think about. The first question I want to pose to you is actually kind of coming off of that Kohl's example that you gave. Is, you know, they showed great success with their Facebook campaign that they did. And one of the questions we have is about, once all that engagement is built on Facebook, do you have any advice for organizations for how to continue that engagement, maybe offline or maybe continuing it on Facebook itself? Again, just kind of trying to harness all that impact and all those connections that they're making on the platform. Do you have any advice for the audience?
You know, I think that is the $10 million question, especially that online to offline question. I'm not even going to pretend to try to answer that one in particular. But I will say, you know, there is a little bit of a mixed school of thought about how to keep a community engaged. On one hand, there you have people saying, you know, it's important to keep hitting these people with content on a, you know, 12 times a week basis and make sure you stay in front of them all the time. And then on the other hand, you have another camp that says, you know what, you don't have to hit them 12 times a week. But when you do a campaign, whether it's just a general marketing campaign or a cause campaign, make sure it's high quality and make sure it resonates with your community. So I know that's not a real specific answer to that question, but obviously staying engaged with your community is important, whether you're doing it through frequency or through quality campaigns, but obviously staying in touch with that community is very, very important.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Again, the buck does not stop while on your Facebook. You know, there's many things that you can do to take that offline, and I think one good example that kind of jumped out to me, Megan, that was part of your presentation, was about giving incentives and premiums. And the keychain example that you gave there, which was that they were able to build a really robust mailing list. You know, what you do with that is sort of the big question, and it's about what works for your organization, but that can be one kind of outcome that comes out of a campaign that's held online.
Absolutely.
Megan, I'm actually going to jump in and answer one, or give some advice to the audience, because I've had several questions coming in from individuals who are wondering, you know, what can I do either as an individual or, you know, on Facebook to help promote the causes I care about? And another question was, you know, I'm part of I'm a smaller group within a nonprofit organization, and how do I get, you know, my group engaged in, you know, connecting with those audiences on that larger point? And I wanted to share something that, you know, VolunteerMatch is actually a part of, and I think speaks really well to what you can do on Facebook and how you can engage audiences. And I'm going to share a link in the chat function for everybody, which links you to the Johnson & Johnson and You program. And this allows you to create a custom widget that you can actually embed either on your organization's Facebook page or on your personal Facebook page. And it links in a lot of different resources, including VolunteerMatch, so that you can advocate for volunteer opportunities for the organizations or causes that you care about. It links to opportunities to make donations to those organizations, and also employment listings for those organizations. So I really encourage everyone to check this out. And again, maybe if you're just getting started on Facebook, or maybe you're an individual who can't implement this in your organization right now, this is a great way to kind of show your support for causes on your personal page. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought it was a really good response to some of the questions that were coming in. And I have some other questions for you, Megan. And again, you know, you did a lot of research and talked to a lot of people, but we understand that you maybe don't have all the answers, but maybe you can point us in the direction of some resources. One of the questions that came in was about, you know, the need for privacy and keeping up with all of those privacy issues that exist on Facebook, and also about, you know, are there any best practices about kind of getting around some of the privacy issues that might exist for organizations themselves? you know, we talked about this as one of the main challenges and something to expect. Do you have any resources or advice for people on where to kind of find information about that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Casey, because not only with privacy, but just with the iterations that I was talking about as far as, you know, different things that Facebook rolls out on an ongoing basis. I did want to hammer home that point a little bit more. If you're going to be engaging on this platform, you do need to stay up to speed on all of these things. Does it mean that you need to be a Facebook scholar? No, it doesn't. There are plenty of people out there who are happy to do the translation for you. So I would point you into a couple of different blogs. I don't know that they're privacy specific, but they do a great job of being comprehensive with keeping up with these Facebook changes and privacy issues and things like that. So there's one called allfacebook.com. From a nonprofit perspective, Beth Cantor's blog does an amazing job evaluating some of the things that are happening. I would also say keep an eye on Mashable and TechCrunch. Some of these you may have heard of, some of them maybe not, but those are kind of the go-to blogs that I read as far as Facebook, but there are certainly others. I don't know if you have any others, Casey, but those are the ones that I think have been recommended to me and that I read on an ongoing basis.
No, those are great, and I did my best to type those up and share those in the chat function with everybody. So again, you mentioned allfacebook.com, Beth Cantor's blog, which I believe is bethcantor.org, Mashable.com, and TechCrunch.com.
Yep, I think you got them.
Excellent. So we had a couple of questions coming in specifically about gaming on Facebook, and really, you know, do you have any advice or any information about, you know, what the demographics are of people who are gaming on Facebook, or again, do you have any resources for people to kind of explore that further? I think that's something of particular interest to our audience today.
Sure. So I gave you just a couple of statistics that people that are gaming, people that are gaming on Facebook tend to be kind of older women, which is to me a little bit counterintuitive, but it's interesting for sure. You know, gaming is an area that we're even at the Cause Marketing Forum looking into a little bit more. We're actually going to be doing a session at our 10th anniversary conference in May specifically on gaming because we have questions as well. I think the sources that we just gave you as far as blogs are a good start, but certainly if you just Google social gaming, you're going to get just a lot of information. I don't have any great statistics other than the ones that were presented, but certainly they do exist. There are whole industries around gaming, and you have to, there is a difference between social gaming and offline gaming for sure, but there are lots and lots of resources because it is such a growing industry.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Megan, so much. It looks like we're at the end of our session time today, so I want to thank everyone for sticking with us and listening into the session today. I will actually, if your question wasn't answered, I'll pass that along to Megan to follow up with you after the session. And Megan, thank you so much for all the information. You've given us a lot to think about. And I also want to remind everyone that you can purchase the white paper that Megan authored on the website causemarketingforum.com. Is that right? Is it .com?
Yep.
Okay. And then for news and to stay up to date on everything in CSR, I just want to remind everybody of our channels here at VolunteerMatch. Our blog, volunteering, is csr.org, and you can follow us on Twitter at VM_solutions to kind of stay up to date with upcoming webinars, news, and information. So thank you, everyone, again. And Megan, thank you especially for sharing all your insights with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.